5 of them. Elroy Hirsch, I was a teammate of his. He's the only man in the history of Michigan athletics to win 4 varsity M's in one full scholastic year in 4 different sports. I don't know Bert Smith very well. I know Bill Ulrich and Bump Elliott very well. I know their whole existence, everything they've done, they owe to the University of Michigan. Now, when it comes down to loyalty, I think that these, well, let me put it this way. I know Paul Giel voted for us. We know Cannon voted for us. We know we got 4 votes. 2 of the 4 Michigan men, and it is a loyalty vote, politics, political vote, call it what you will. You're right. That's what it reduced itself to. Where is the loyalty of those 4 M men? Now, I think the public, I think the Michigan family should find out who the 2 that are turncoats. 2 of those 4 men, JP, have got to be turncoats. Now, I don't know whether they can live with themselves or not. I know Bump Elliott well enough. I worked with him as close as anybody.
I can't believe it.
That's it. Bump Elliott voted for Michigan. Okay. I'll bet my bottom dollar on it. Okay. I know Bill Ulrich real well. I just can't see Bill, as experienced as he is as an athletic director, realizing the significance of this, and then his loyalty, because it is a loyalty vote.
Bob Reynolds last night on the 11:15 Sports Final, and Bob is a very close friend of Bert Smith's, works with Bert on all the Michigan State games, swears up and down that Bert voted for Michigan, too.
He did not. That's why it's got to come out. Doggone it, JP, this has got to come out for the sake of the 2 Michigan men in a political vote who did stick with Michigan. I want to know the 2 that did. I want to know the 2 turncoats. Let me put it this way. The 2 that didn't, they know that they didn't vote for their alma mater because it was a political vote when it reduced itself down. Mel Brewer, one of the fine athletes at Illinois, couldn't live with himself when he turned coat on Pete Elliott. And incidentally, JP, isn't it interesting, 7 years ago, in the Pete Elliott incident, a similar vote was taken. All the evidence was in. It was quite clear. It was 8-1. You know the only vote Pete Elliott got? He got it from Mark Plant in Michigan. Why? Because he was one of Michigan's own. That's loyalty. Now, I want to know who those 2 Michigan men are that are turncoats. And I'll tell you one thing. If you think Schembechler's revenge was something out at UCLA last year after the Stanford game, you remember we lost to Stanford 13-12. And I'll tell you, I've never seen a Michigan team any higher than the Wolverines were when they took that Coliseum turf last September, a year ago. They ran up 83 offensive plays, 22 first downs, over 380 yards rushing, over 425 yards total yardage, all tops for last year's championship season. And I'll tell you one thing, JP, I want to be there when Michigan plays Michigan State, and these sophomores and juniors on this team this year are going to be juniors and seniors, and they're going to see the team or the man that said that they weren't representative.
You're sure of that? See, you sound just as vindictive as they were.
Well, yeah, but I am. Doggone it, it just doesn't seem right. These kids, all this is going to make Bo think is that he's got to go out and blow everybody out of the stadium when they play him. No gentlemanly gestures. Let me tell you something at the Minnesota game, JP, this year. I walked out of the booth after the game. The announcer next to me walked down. He says, Bob, he says, you know Bo. He says, congratulate him. He says, I don't know either Woody or Bo. I broadcast both games. He said, Woody was ruthless. He blew us right out of Columbus. These young kids on the Minnesota team are inexperienced. He said, Bo called off the Dogs today in the second quarter. He's a gentleman. I hope he beats Ohio State in the final game. In other words, Bo is a gentleman. He tried to be nice to these other schools. If they think the big 2 and the little late are evident now, next year, Bo, what other alternative does he have? He's got to think, well, if this thing happens again, I
got to win every game 100-0.
That's right. Yeah. And that's not right either, I think.
Bob, hang on a second. Yeah. I have a hunch, knowing you as I do, that you're going to have some sort of a poem for this very sad occasion for you.
Well, I got a poem, and it was written before the vote came in about the season. Yeah, if you want it,
Yeah, I want to hear it. Hang on for a second, will you?